Have you ever seen this image? This image shows that at night, North Korea is pitch dark except for the capital, Pyongyang, which has lights. With such a tight electricity supply, how do people living in high-rise buildings in Pyongyang cope? How do they go upstairs when there is no electricity, and is there heating in winter? What is the situation with electricity in rural areas? The reasons behind North Korea's lack of electricity are complex, and I will only discuss what I know. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Soviet aid to North Korea was cut off, and since then, North Korea's electricity supply has become increasingly strained. Since most high-rise buildings are concentrated in the Pyongyang area, I will differentiate between Pyongyang and other areas to discuss how people live without electricity. I have heard from foreigners who have lived in Pyongyang that electricity in Pyongyang is still more sufficient than in other regions, but the demand for electricity is also stronger than in other places. Even in Pyongyang, there are regular or irregular power outages. When there is a power outage, no matter how luxurious the high-rise building appears, you have to use the stairs to go up, which can sometimes take tens of minutes. Water is supplied periodically but on a schedule, sometimes during certain hours in the morning and evening, and sometimes every few days. Without electricity, cooking is done with briquette coal. There is no central heating in winter, and some people set up tents in their rooms, heat water, pour it into buckets, and hold it to keep warm while sleeping. Electricity outside of Pyongyang is even scarcer than in Pyongyang. North Korea's electricity is supplied in several tiers, also distinguishing between industrial and agricultural electricity, which is quite complicated. In summary, electricity is prioritized to essential places and departments, favoring industry during industrial peak times and agriculture during agricultural peak times. Because hydropower is predominant, electricity production is higher in summer than in winter. In most rural homes, when electricity is scarce, they don't get electricity for much of the year. In the early days, lighting was provided by candles and kerosene lamps. Candles were better, as the light from kerosene lamps was extremely weak. Later, some battery storage imports began, and homes with the means started using batteries for lighting, trying to charge them when there was electricity. Later, solar panels and diesel generators began to solve most of the lighting problems for the middle class and above, but cooking generally required making a fire. Someone who spent their childhood in rural Pyongyang told me that at the moment electricity came, everyone would shout, "The electricity is here!" and hurry to charge everything that could be charged and turn on the TV. The shortage of electricity makes water supply in most areas difficult. In places with high terrain, even pumping doesn't help because the electricity is not on a schedule, and neither is the water supply. Because most areas have no electricity, it's impossible to know when there will be water, making water usage problematic. Being able to drill for groundwater can solve many issues, but in winter, it might be unusable due to freezing. In vast rural areas, everyone needs to carry water, whether to a well, river, or someone else's home. During the coldest 2 months of winter, because the water doesn't flow, the water in the pipes freezes, and well water can also dry up. In dry years, farmers push carts several kilometers away to break the ice and scoop up 100 liters of water to bring back for use. Trains often stop anywhere along the way due to power outages, making the already slow trains even slower. Being stopped for a few hours is considered lucky, but being stopped for more than 10 hours isn't rare, and there have been instances of being stopped for over 40 hours. Summer is better, but can you imagine in winter? It's worth mentioning that electricity is really cheap, costing only a few cents a year. There's a North Korean joke that goes, "Good news, our electricity costs only a few cents a year. Bad news, we don't have electricity." Even surgeries might be interrupted by power outages. But there are a few places that will never have power cuts, besides the great leader's residence and office. The eternal towers and sun statues, dedicated to Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, have uninterrupted power supply. Even if there's a power cut, backup batteries immediately kick in. On opposite banks of a river, one side is as bright as day, while the other is in pitch darkness, with a tower and a statue shining brilliantly. The tower, like a bayonet, forever looms over every piece of land, and the great leader's smiling face seems even more radiant in the darkness, beautifully so.